Hello, Gravity Falls fans. It is Chad here from Lou Tunes, and I'm joined by Emily the Brave, who you probably know from Cartoon Conspiracy and other internet things. How are you doing?
I'm good. I am excited to talk about Gravity Falls and also sad at the same time because I don't want it to end.
Yes, we're going to be doing something that's never been done on the internet before and talk about Gravity Falls.
Nope, no one's ever done that. I don't think anyone's even heard of Gravity Falls. It's like a pretty indie show.
A little indie project.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, it occurred. I'll be calling this video Mystery Chat. Just yesterday, it occurred to me that would be a good name for a Gravity Falls podcast, but now it's too late. So at least we'll have this Mystery Chat.
We still have time, yeah. We got one whole episode.
Yeah. So welcome to the first and last episode of Mystery Chat. So
it'll be the best ever.
Yeah. So we are coming up February 15th. The finale episode of Gravity Falls is coming out. And of course, there is oodles and oodles, if you will, of speculations about how it's going to end. So we're going to talk about what we think might happen, what we think would be cool to see happen, and if someone's going to die. So I guess that's a pretty good spot to start. There was like a code, I think it was in 2 episodes ago or something, where it said which of the pines will survive.
Yeah, I wrote that down in my notes, like scribbled it out. Yeah, it's the cipher at the end of the episode. It says, "I always love corrupting lives. Now let's see which pines survives." So, yeah, I was gonna say my theory from the beginning was like, because this is so a Gravity Falls thing. It's like, Alex Hirsch says, "Oh, someone's gonna die," and it would just be like some random person.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, since seeing that code, I definitely think it's got to be one of the pines. I'm hoping it's Ford.
Yeah.
I don't care too much for Ford. It would make sense if he died. Like, I don't know. He created this whole mess. It would make sense if he was the one to like kind of bite the bullet, I guess.
Plus that leaves Dipper to grow up and kind of fill his shoes as like the mystery hunter. Exactly.
Yeah. And I was like perusing Reddit earlier, thing I never do, to see like kind of what other people were thinking, and I found a thread about people thinking Ford's going to die, but I guess in the episode The Last Maple Corn, where Ford is talking about a dream he had, or it's a flashback to a dream he had about Bill. And Bill says, like, something along the lines of, like, "Oh, don't have a heart attack. You're not 92 yet." Mm-hmm. So, and, like
he knew he was going to die then or something?
Mm-hmm, yeah, because Bill's been known to, like, predict people's deaths. So,
yeah,
it's not, like, looking great for my theory about Ford dying, but
that's a good point.
So, that's what I think, but I really hope it's not. A lot of people think it's going to be Stan, and I really hope it's not Stan, because I would be very, very sad.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on this one, because I think if Gravity Falls is to be left open for continuation in the future, I think they want to pick back up and have Stan Lee Pines, still there.
Yeah.
As the show moves forward, because he's such a key part of the humor and like tone of.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have that shystery sort of like grumpy character that he is, you lose a lot of what made like the first season awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be a big blow if they got rid of Stan. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, if they were looking to continue on the show, like, you can't really have the show without Stan.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the rest of the characters, because it's an hour-long finale, but it's still like with commercial breaks, right? So that's 46 minutes that it has.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 45, 46 minutes.
So that's not a whole lot of time to see like
it's really
the
not.
endings for a lot of characters. I mean,
yeah.
Of course, there's the Dipper Wendy thing. There's the Dipper Pacifica thing.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought like that was a huge part of the show's narrative. It was always just kind of funny because Dipper is like a preteen boy, and it's funny to see preteen boys get all squirmy around girls. I don't think it's a huge part of Dipper's character. I think, like, I was done with the Dipper and Wendy thing at the beginning of the second season, when they, I think it was no, not to be. So it was not the first episode, the shapeshifter episode. I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
When they like had that talk, and I was done with it then. I was like, okay, that's cool. And you know, I kind of liked him in Pacifica, but I didn't like Pacifica's character wasn't that important to me, so I just didn't really like care so much if like I didn't. That's not one of the things I need to happen. Like I need to see Dipper and Pacifica get together. I really don't.
So you don't think that? I mean, didn't it feel in that one in the Northwest Mansion episode? It seemed like so apparent that they're like, okay, we're finally moving on from Wendy here. Because Dipper's always on about this stuff. And they're like, maybe this is something. So it's like, oh, cool. But then you never really heard from Pacifica again, and now the show's over. So it seems like something happened there to me.
I think it was more of a, like, Pacifica's actually all right. Because for almost the entire show, Pacifica was, like, the childhood villain, you know, like she was like the popular girl, so she wasn't like Bill, but she was basically Mabel's
like the social
antagonist.
villain.
Yeah. And I just think it was more like, you know, she's not as bad as she seems, like, you know, they all have to work together on this kind of stuff, and I think it was more just like Dipper making another friend as opposed to like they're gonna get together. It would be adorable. I'm not saying that, but
shows there's a little hope for
and
Dipper's love life, even if it's not on screen. Yeah.
And I think even like at the end of Weird Mageddon Part 2, you see her with Stan like in that group that we haven't learned about yet, but I mean that shows that she's like fighting back too, so she's actually made huge growth as a character.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
So what characters do you see having some sort of full circle arc completion or some big part in this finale? Like McGucket or Seuss or...
I'd really like to see a kind of finale for McGucket and Ford, because they haven't, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they've had any interaction since Ford's come back.
No, I don't think they have. It'd be great to see him get his sanity back.
Yeah, or at least, like, have Ford acknowledge, like, you did good, because, I mean, he, like, went crazy because of Ford.
Right.
So I'd like to see some sort of interaction there. I'd like to see McGucket come full circle because I, you know, liked him as a character. Like, he ended up being a big character. I'd like to see... I don't need to see, like, a huge ending for Wendy and Seuss. I think just, like, all of the Mystery Shack crew working together is enough for me because Wendy and Seuss didn't really exist outside of, like, being a really big part of the Mystery Shack. Especially Wendy. Like, I really love Wendy, but I just don't think she's, like... I don't need to see, like, a fulfilling moment for her character. It's just kind of like... Yeah, they all did it.
Yeah. The interesting thing with Seuss for me, as this whole season's been going, there's been a whole lot of, like, who is Seuss's father thing. And it seemed like in that last episode, they kind of, like, trolled that whole theory by having his dad be represented as, like, some wrestler. He's like, well, you've never seen your dad, so he's a wrestler.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny.
And I was like, oh, okay, so they're not going to address that. That's kind of a funny way to do that.
Yeah.
It'll really be interesting. I feel like the last episode was like a really strong sort of landing point for Dipper and Mabel.
Yeah.
And their like sibling friendship. And it feels like the final episode might just be like a lot of action.
I think it will be too. I wish that the last couple of episodes, and like I was telling you this before, like I think ever since Ford came on, like the family relationship between Dipper and Mabel and Stan like has kind of just spread apart. And the reason like I haven't enjoyed these last couple episodes as much is because like my favorite part of the show was like the family being together. And like I liked the last episode because it was really sweet, but it's like, why can't we just have them be friends all the time?
Yeah, they really drove them apart pretty harshly.
Yeah.
Over the course of a lot of episodes, really.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense because it makes it more like it's a bigger impact when they do finally get back together. But I don't know. I hope the last episode just isn't all action because they do definitely have to get a lot done.
Yeah.
But I do hope they take time to like kind of tie up those loose ends with Dipper and Mabel and Dipper and Stan and Dipper and Ford and Mabel and Stan. Like there's a lot of relationships there.
Not to mention, I'm sure they'll give like little mini moments to all of like the little recurring, you know, citizens that pop up. It'll be interesting to see what happens. So do you think, did you by any chance see somewhere else or hear the theories about the bubble that's trapping everyone inside?
Kind of.
So one of the theories, we won't go too much into the details of it, but that Gravity Falls is like locked in time, and when all is said and done, it will still be the first day of summer.
Oh.
The show will end and it'll be the first day of summer still.
Aww. That's cute.
Not like it never happened, but
yeah.
time was just not moving forward. Do you think that's holding water, or do you think it's
that
just
would
sort of a
actually
magic?
I never heard that. I think that would be really sweet, and I think it would make a lot of sense. So it's like they could finally spend their summer all together or something. But I also think a lot, especially these last couple episodes, a big theme has been like growing up and moving on.
Right.
So I think it would also make sense for it to all end and for Mabel and Dipper to have to go back home and like carry on in their normal lives with like all of this knowledge of what happened in Gravity Falls. So I think that'd be really cute, though. I just like that idea because it would be adorable.
So speaking of moving on, segue.
Whoa!
Oh boy. So let's talk about the future. Even though, of course, we haven't seen the finale episode, obviously. The future of the show beyond its conclusion. So Alex Hirsch, I believe, is going to Fox to do a show.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know anything about
like
the show, or is it just that's all we know?
I don't know anything about the show other than that it's going to be on Fox and he is doing it.
I assume, because I've read like so much that, and you can totally tell when you watch any episode of Gravity Falls that he's a huge fan of The Simpsons. The show's humor is like feels just like the Simpsons humor. I'm wondering if it's going to be sort of a serial show, kind of like, I mean, Gravity Falls wasn't super, episode to episode, but it was pretty like linear versus The Simpsons, where almost everything resets at the beginning. Do you think that he'll do another show that's like sequential, or do you think he'll do a Simpsons kind of a traditional Fox comedy where it's very episodical and kind of resets almost at the end?
It's hard to say. Like, I would hope that he would go and do a show that's more like Gravity Falls, because, like, Gravity Falls was definitely not the first of a cartoon to be linear like that, but it was definitely, like, one of the best, I think, recently. So I think he can do it, obviously, and I would hope he could do it again. And especially for... I feel like adult animation is like just a bunch of Simpsons ripoffs, except for like Rick and Morty, which actually I know Alex Hirsch and Justin Roiland are the creator of Rick and Morty, are friends. Right, so I would hope he'd go on to do something like Rick and Morty, like where it is, because Rick and Morty, I don't watch it that often, but I know it's pretty linear. Like it definitely has an overarching plot. So I would hope he'd do something like that. For a while before he made the announcement. I was kind of hoping that they'd go on to do like a Gravity Falls comic, which would be really cool.
Oh yeah.
It'd be cool to see a comic about like what Ford was doing.
Gravity Falls expanded universe.
Yeah, I think that would be cool because it's such a big universe. It would be cool to see something like more stories, like spend more time on other stories. But
yeah, you could have like a whole thing about like what Ford was doing like in that other dimension.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool, and I'd like to just see more adventures with Dipper and Mabel together. But I think also if they just like end the show and don't do anything about it, like I'd be okay with that too.
I feel like I would be okay with that for sure, because I love like having something just exist the way it is and not be tampered with, which is why like when I've been hearing whispers of like restarting Over the Garden Wall stuff, I'm just like no.
Yeah.
Just
no,
leave it. It's perfectly fine. But when something's so successful, people just want more of it, and that's kind of understandable. But yeah, if they just stopped Gravity Falls at the end, I would be perfectly fine with that. But given that Alex Hirsch said that he's not eliminating the option of bringing it back, what would be like a cool spin-off, do you think, or like a continuation, be it just like a story, like a prequel series, or like a flash forward in time, or
I'd like to see like
something
an X-Files like show with Dipper and Mabel, like as like a alien crime fighting
and they're like older.
Oh, that would be
like,
cool.
Continues right on.
Yeah. I mean, as for a show, like I think Gravity Falls did really well was have it be, like a quote unquote kid show. But also appealed to like an older demographic. Like, I mean, you know, I know teenagers watch it. I mean, I'm 22 and I watch it. Like, I have friends who are older than me that watch it. Like, I would hope that they could actually... It'd be interesting to see Gravity Falls come back and be a little bit more mature. I would like that, but I also do... I don't know. I'm like I'm totally torn. Like, I like that it's a kid show. I like that it's an adult show. So, I don't know. I wouldn't want it to necessarily come back and be like super gritty.
Right.
Which I think like a Ford spinoff would be.
Yeah, but, that probably would work better as like a comic series.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd necessarily want to see it come back as an animated TV show. I kind of look at it like Avatar, because Avatar is the only other animated show I can think of that had like a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Right.
And when it ended, and I was super happy with it. But then they came out with those comics that started like right after the show ended. And those were like, they were there if you wanted to read them, but they weren't like super in your face canon.
I didn't even know that existed.
Oh yeah, they do. They've been doing, I don't know if they're still doing them for Avatar, but they're about to do them for Korra. After
I still
Avatar,
have to finish
that. But after Avatar ended, they came out with I think it's 3 different trilogies of comics, each about something different. So like,
and this is like in Aang's universe, time period.
And so the first one is about like, we're getting off topic, but the first one is about like, rebuilding.
Welcome to the last air chat bending.
We get 2 in 1, The first one was about like rebuilding the world, and the second one was about like Zuko finding his mom. So it was just like kind of unanswered questions. So it'd be cool to see something like that with Gravity Falls, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Yeah. For
me, if they have to continue it, and I've been like subtly saying this, not that subtly, in like all of my videos before I knew that the show was ending, I felt like pretty certain that the next season was going to be like a time leap, like something similar to what they did in Naruto, if you've ever seen that.
I have
where
not.
It starts with, all these ninjas and they're like 10 years old, and then they just skip like a whole bunch of years and they're like super like trained and stuff, and it's like, oh, that's a cool thing to do because it's fun to see those characters again. If they could pull off a Rick and Morty like sort of wackiness to it and not have it be super dark, even though I feel like Dipper's going to be kind of broody.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think that would be really fun to see, but ultimately dredging things back up and just like milking them for money because they're popular is usually not a good idea.
No. Yeah, I think it's such like a great piece of an animated series that I just like, don't touch it. It's good. Just leave it alone.
It's those Alvin and the Chipmunks of the world that keep proving that that money.
Because Alvin and the Chipmunks was such an amazingly written linear show.
Did you hear about that Simon actually died in the road trip?
Oh, wait, what? Really?
No, I didn't.
Oh. I was like, oh God.
No, that would be bold of them.
That would be very dark.
Be commendable.
I mean, no one saw that movie, so I would believe it.
And on that chipmunk note, we will bring ourselves to a close here. Emily, thanks for hanging out and talking about Gravity Falls for a little bit.
Thanks for letting me talk about Gravity Falls. Usually I talk and everyone's just like, oh my God, shut up, please.
Do you want to tell people where they can find you on the internet?
Yeah, I'm on the internet a lot. Well, Cartoon Conspiracy is on Channel Frederator every Friday. But besides that, I am on Twitter and Instagram and Tumblr, all under Emily the Brave, with 2 E's at the end, because I just want to confuse people. Yeah, I will be there probably talking and crying about the end of Gravity Falls when it happens.
Yeah, there'll be lots to talk about, I'm sure. You guys can find me, of course, right here on YouTube where you already are, and on Twitter @LouTunes. So thanks again, Emily, and we'll see everyone very soon, except not soon because this is the last episode of Mystery Chat.
We'll come back. We'll come back one day, like 5 years from now, and talk about anything.
If the show comes back.
It's a Mystery Chat. We can talk about whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay, see you, everybody.